So that was my audition for Smile 3, which I think they are currently in development of. And I'm sure if anyone from the casting department, if they were to see me doing all of this, they would cast me in the film immediately. But today we are here to talk about the original Smile from 2022. And we're going to talk about this 4K release of the film. And if you haven't done so already, if you'd go ahead and subscribe to my channel and go ahead and like this video. And seriously, it's not really that hard. Just hit that like button. Hit it, and then it will put a like on my video. So, Smile from 2022. Now, this was my first time watching this film, and I was a little discouraged, I guess, from the marketing originally, which is pretty impressive. They put a lot of money into the marketing, but it made me think that the movie was about a contagion, where everybody all around everywhere was getting this smile virus, where they're just smiling and they were incapacitated. Now, from the trailer and from some of the marketing, that was kind of what I got the impression that it was about, but it's not really about that at all. I mean, there may be a contagion going on. Now, this is a supernatural and psychological horror film, but it could be a contagion, but it goes to only one person at a time, and it doesn't affect, at least not in the first film. I haven't seen the second one yet, or the third one, which they haven't even made, or they are currently making. But it doesn't affect a lot of people, just for basically one person at a time. And it's actually kind of similar to a curse, kind of like from the Ring film, where one character has the 7 days curse. Here is more like a 4 days curse. But even though it is similar to Ring in a way, it kind of also reminds me of It Follows a little bit. And there's really more than anything, I would say Drag Me to Hell. It kind of does that, and even the ending of it is very similar. Spoiler. As you're watching, there's another film that I don't have the copy of it as of yet. Thinner by Stephen King, but when you're dealing with a movie when the character is kind of cursed, there's really only a couple things that are going to happen by the end, and a lot of times they end up succumbing to the curse, or sometimes they get cured in some way, or they end up passing it to somebody else. But I'm not necessarily I might talk about the ending. I haven't decided yet, but I might talk about it, but I'll give you a little heads up on it when we get to that point. So here, this is a slipcover here, a special slipcover that I got from this set here of Paramount Scares. And so to get this slipcover, you have to have this set, I believe. There may be another slipcover, which I'm sure there is, that probably looks more similar to this cover. But yeah, so that's where we're at here. So let's talk a little bit about the plot. And I'm going to actually, before I talk about the plot, I want to point out. So this is fairly iconic. This lady's face on the front here and here. Now, this is a character in the film, the first character who dies from the Scream curse. That character's name is Laura Weaver, played by Caitlin Stacy. I believe that's pronounced correctly. I'm not sure on that, but the actress was actually in a short before they shot the film that this film is based on. She playing the same character. But here, she does a very good job. And so what happens is this character goes into this therapist office, and she's talking to a therapist played by Sosie Bacon named Rose. Now, Sosie Bacon is the daughter of Kevin Bacon and Kira Sedgwick. So, but she's been acting in a lot of stuff for a while. This is the first thing that I think I've seen her in, and she does a really good job here. But so does Caitlin Stacy. She was the original in the original short, and when she comes in and she seems like she's strung out the way that she's acting, but she's had this curse, and she's kind of at the end of the 4 days when time is running out. But she comes in and she's very convincing. She does a very good job. And of course, she'd already did the short before, so she's very familiar with what was going on. And as you can see from all the artwork and stuff, she's all over it. Shows her on everything. But she's fairly amazing, convincing performance, even if it is brief in the film. But then she does that. She really is, I guess, probably the first person that came up with the smile looks, and everyone else had to kind of do it the same way, but she looks very very scary the way that she looks with a smile. So what happens is she goes in and talks to her therapist, and she's telling her that she saw her therapist kill herself, and then after that she's been seeing like other people, like or more of a psychological. She's thinking, she's imagining other people doing these crazy smiles. Sometimes it will just be a person, and sometimes it will be like just imaginary things, and often they delusional, which seems delusional, like something will talk to her. Of course the therapist thinks she's delusional, but the lady who has the curse, Laura, knows that it's happening. But she ends up talking to her, and then she eventually starts convulsing, and then falls on the floor, and then she seems to die, but then comes back, and then when she comes back, she's just smiling crazy, and then she takes, I think it's a knife or something, and then slits her own throat like this, and it looks like a smile, like the way she cuts her throat, and then she dies. And then from there, it's kind of the character played by Sosie Bacon Rose sees it, and then she, after that, is I guess you describe it as a curse. But it may be a contagion of some sort. But there is an entity that has attached itself to Rose, and she starts to have the symptoms. Like when she gets home, she sees Laura, who's deceased at this point. She sees like what seems to be a reflection of her smiling at her across the room, and it's actually quite scary, really, for a while in this, and it's quite it's unnerving. I mean, really, in the build up in this film it is terrific, and so you may say it is very similar to a lot of other films like The Ring and Drag Me to Hell and all that, but it does have a very nice identity of its own in a way because of the smile virus, which is very simple, and it's also fairly complex later on. But it also has a very very unnerving sense to this film, and the main character, Rose, like had a something horrific happened to her when she was a kid. Now, the first scene of the film, you see that kind of the aftermath of this, where her mother committed suicide, and she saw it. So she has a trauma from that, and so often during the film, like the other people in her life, including her sister, think that she's reacting to this trauma, and it's kind of something that's been repressed, and it's come to the surface. And and they also think that maybe she has, like, maybe her mom's condition, it was hereditary, and she's kind of going in her mom's path, but that's not what's happening to her. She's been affected by this entity who wants to kill her eventually. Eventually she does some investigating, and she gets her ex-boyfriend to help her, played by Kyle Gallner. I think that's how you pronounce his name, but I saw a movie with him in it recently called Strange Darling. He plays one of the main characters in that, but she gets his help, and they do an investigation of so Laura, the person she saw, was, I think, her teacher. She saw him kill himself, and then they're able to trace him back to somebody else, and it seems to be like a line of instances where, like, one person saw this other person kill themselves, and then later on, like 4 days later, or 4 or 5 days later, whatever, it's like that person ends up killing themselves in a very gruesome way. So they see a pattern, and like other films like to this nature, they start trying to come up with ways to stopping it. Thinking of it, the only way I could think that it might could stop this maybe completely is for the person who has it maybe to kill themselves. I don't know if that would even work, but that would probably be the only way that I can think of to stop this from continuing. But I don't know if that would even work or not. But I mean, that's a pretty bad way. She does try to go off on her own, away from everybody else. But this thing is so tricky. It could like make you think you're talking to somebody else, and it's really it, and you're talking to it. And speaking of it eventually does reveal itself, and it looks a lot like some kind of incarnation of it. Not the Pennywise version, but when it gets all like crazy, like the leper thing, it looks maybe something to that nature. But it looks fairly effective when it shows its true form near the end of it. I don't want to go deep into telling every aspect of the plot, but I will say that this film was a lot better than I was expecting it to be, and it kind of gets under your skin, and it makes you. It's the kind of film I think that you could watch, and then you could be sitting there at night after you watch it and kind of start to be a little paranoid in a way. That didn't happen to me, but it could. I could see that happening, especially with what the main character here goes through, and the way all this psychological, what's seemingly psychological stuff, which is actually supernatural in origin, is happening. Though there may be some psychological things happening as well. I want you to take a look at this. Now, Evil Dead Rise, you see the mom character with the big smile like that. It's very reminiscent to me of this. Now, this is a 2003 film. I'm not sure if they intentionally tried to copy the smile, but maybe I bet you at some point somebody with Evil Dead Rise was like, "Son of a bitch," you know, that looks a lot like Smile. But anyway, just wanted to point that out. As far as this one here, it's Paramount release. So on the inside of it, all you have is, in this particular version, you just have a 4K. There is no Blu-ray disc, so I can't really compare this to a Blu-ray, but I will say that overall, I thought the film looked fantastic. I thought the lighting was very, very well done. It was very effective throughout the film, the way it was shot. It also seems to have some mild color grading, similar to like The Ring, or when you have like a scene where it's kind of bluish and you may have some color grading going on. It doesn't go extreme with this. You know, often in the interiors, you got like, you know, also, you know, sometimes you'll have, depending on the lighting, what's going on with the lighting, you might have some orange sort of stuff going on, but it does tend to lean towards some teals with in most scenes, and this happens in a lot of movies anyway. The 4K offers a very nice, a very deep blacks throughout. I didn't see really any noise that was distracting anyway. You see some pretty good textures on people's hair and their shirts and their faces. So it all looks very, very nice. It is a new film, probably, I'm sure, shot and edited digitally, but it looks very nice throughout. As far as the film itself, I'm going to rate the film. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars, leaning towards a 4. I think it is a very, very well done film, and it is spawning a franchise. The second one's coming out on 4. It's been out in the theater already. It's coming out in 4K soon. I do have a copy of it ordered, and I'll be checking it out in the near future. But I have heard that the second one is an improvement over the first one, but I think the first one in itself is fairly well done. Anyway, if you've seen this film or taken a look at the Paramount release of this, and it's unique slipcover. Well, this is the back of it. Anyway, if you've seen this, let me know what you think about it. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel. I'm Dave Watkins. Thanks for watching.